I'm going to make a comment about this Greater Boer Society election, the Greater Boer Community election. The Greater Boer Community election is going on now in the United States. There is a problem with this federation. I call it federation because it is made up of three constituencies, or it used to be made up of three constituencies before the Duke constituency dissociated itself from the federation this year. When certain issues were not being, when political issues were not being addressed by the federation, the Duke constituency decided to dissociate itself from this federation, and the issue became a very serious issue when the state government allocated the number of MPs to different constituencies, and Duke constituency was not very happy with the number of MPs that was allocated to the people of Duke County. So the constituency dissociated itself from the federation, especially in the U.S. this year. So now you have two constituencies. You have Boer constituency and you have Twi constituency. And there is a concern that maybe the Twi constituency would be able to dissociate itself from the federation together, depending on the outcome of the election. The outcome of the election is going to be really fascinating, because if you have a Boer presidency this time, then a lot of people from the Twi constituency would have either voted for this candidate because they want to act strategically in a way that they want to put the federation to one county or to one constituency, in this case Boer constituency, which carry the name of the federation. And with that, if they want to raise a point of the dissociation or a point of separation, then it would be very easy for these constituencies to make a very convincing argument to its own grassroots population that the federation now has now become the federation of one constituency. Therefore, there's no point of holding to this line anymore. Or if you have many delegates from the Boer constituency voting for the candidate from the Twi constituency, then the system would be, the indirect rule would be seen as a way to hold this line together. So the idea that you could have delegate from the Boer constituency voting strategically for the candidate from the Twi constituency would be seen as pushing for an indirect system. So this indirect system you would have, it would lay out artificial understanding that you could have cooperation at the executive level, and then the Twi presidency would be able to speak to these or her grassroots population with the idea that the federation is very important symbolism for the unity. The problem, the Twi presidency has not been able to, under the current presidency, has not been able to convince the grassroots population. That's why you see the Duke constituency dissociating itself from the federation. So that's why you see many people becoming very vocal against the federation itself. So the current presidency, even though the presidency is from the Twi constituency, has not been able to really affect any change or influence any change in the best interests of the unity of this federation. So you have artificial understanding that there is unity here, but in fact there is no unity as far as this federation is concerned. Some people try to remind the grassroots population about the traditional leaders, the importance of traditional leaders, how they kept the unity of these three constituencies together, or the revolutionary leaders, how they kept the unity of these three constituencies together. But they have to remember those leaders, they were fighting different wars, they were fighting different kind of enemies. Traditional leaders were struggling, were fighting against the colonialism when the British was colonizing the country called Sudan. And it was very easy for those traditional leaders to appeal to people that if they were to protect their way of life, their culture, then they have to speak with one voice. And they were successful in convincing people based on that message that they need to be free from any foreign domination or foreign rule. And in fact, they reject the idea of the indirect rule, that the British colonial power could use traditional leaders to rule in their favor indirectly. So revolutionary leaders were fighting the few Arab elites who were controlling the power in Khartoum, and they succeeded in selling the message to the three constituencies that it is time to unify again with the common enemy. The common enemy was Arab enemy by that time. So those legacies, they may not really be, they may not have some impact today with regard to the modern generation, because the modern generation are looking for radical change. The problem is radical change. They sometimes favor military confrontation. Military confrontation comes with civilian casualties, and not everyone is comfortable with those military confrontation. People rather want to have change through a civil process instead of radical process that involve military confrontation. And then you have, so what do they need to do? What do they need to do really? They need to come to the realization that the reality is cannot be avoided. So they need to think about recognizing that there should be Duk society, recognizing that there should be Twi society, recognizing that there should be Boer society. And if those three societies happen to deal with acute problem or mother nature disasters, then they would come together and do fundraising together or rally behind together to work for the common cause if there is an acute problem. Things to do with issues such as flood at home, then they would rally together and raise money to support the population wherever they need to support them. The issue of identity is also another issue that need to be taken very seriously by these delegates who are going to vote for a new presidency. Duk constituency doesn't see itself being represented in this federation. That's very obvious. Twi constituency doesn't see itself being represented in this federation. So that one need to be recognized, because the federation is carry the name of the Boer constituency, the Greater Boer community, as they call it now. So the federation is going to collapse itself because depending on the outcome of the election. And I think the delegates have to recognize that, because when you vote strategically, then there would be assumption that you did it because you want to achieve a certain goal, and those goals, they're very obvious, because they would transpire after this election. There is no leader now, a unifying leader now, especially in the U.S., to unify these three communities. There's no influential leader, there's no charismatic leader. So the fact has to be recognized. So I thought to myself that to remind people about that political struggle is very genuine, it's very real, and it is destroying this federation. That identity, the question of identity is very real, and it is destroying this federation. And that it is time to go for something that is feasible, that is recognizing Duke society, recognizing Tree society, recognizing Boer society. The three societies need to come together to work for the common cause with regard to acute problem, then they would always come together. But believing in artificial federation is just not realistic practice to follow every time, especially when you're not seeing a result. And I think that's what these delegates need to understand, and if they need to face the realities, these are the realities of today, and I don't think they are kind of realities that anybody can just sweep under the carpet and hope that